Okay, Makkot daf Yud Amud Aleph. So I just learned this week's shiur not too long ago, and it's I try not to involve politics in the shiur. Usually we try to learn Torah for its own sake, whether it connects to what's going on and doesn't. Everyone can make their own inferences, but this week it's very relevant in Yanei Diyoma and what's going on politically now. In particular, the debate between the Charedim and the Chilonim. We just started, like 2 seconds ago. Welcome. Nice. So saying this week is actually going to touch on, we don't usually talk about current events or politics, but this week is going to touch on, there was a recent debate about the Bagatz, the Supreme Court, they passed a law about the Charedim having to, or exempting the draft. Okay. And the Charedim say, no, the Yahari Vayavo, to be in the army. And what is their source for that whole gisha, that you should be sitting in yeshiva and learning instead of going out to a battle? So we'll be learning a sugya it's really two separate teachings, one after the other. We'll spend a bit of time in the beginning, maybe the first third, learning one of the teachings and focusing most of it on the other teaching. And in particular, the Iyun Yaakov develops a mahalach that he goes and he references all these different midrashim. So through him, we'll learn various other midrashim, and he ties it all together back to our Gemara and touches, and in the end, it kind of ties to what we just talked about in terms of current events. But we'll kind of go on a journey with the Iyun Yaakov through various sugiyot. Okay, so the first source, Makot daf Yud Amud Aleph. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mai dichtiv omdot hayu ragleinu b'sharayich Yerushalayim. Okay, so this is a Perek of Tzilim, Perek Kuf Chaf Bet, I believe. Right, so our legs were standing in your gates, Yerushalayim. We were standing at attention in your gates, Yerushalayim. What does that mean? So the Gemara continues. It says, "Mi garam le'ragleinu she'amdu b'milchama, she'arei Yerushalayim, שהיו oskim b'Torah." So the drasha here is, what does it mean that we were standing at attention in the gates of Yerushalayim? It means what caused us to be able to stand or withstand battle, the gates of Yerushalayim. Why? Because there they learn Torah. And it was because they're learning Torah in the gates of Yerushalayim, we were able to stand strong against our enemies. In other words, Torah protects us from our enemies, and that's what we'll get to. Okay, and the second teaching, V'amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mai dichtiv shir ha'ma'alot leDavid, Samachti b'omrim li beit Hashem nelech. So David HaMelech said, I'm happy that there are people who say to me, let's go to the Beit HaMikdash.
Which is the beginning of this.
Which is the beginning of it, right. They're kind of out of order. And there are Mifrashim that ask, why does this one come second instead of first? Because the Psukim are out of order. I didn't bring those Miklarot, but yes, you're right. That this is the first Pasuk and the previous. We know why these two are placed next to each other, because they're both Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and he's being, they're two Agadot on the same Perek of Tehillim, but the order's backwards. So that's a good point. But be that as it may, so why did David HaMelech say, I'm happy when people tell me we're going to the house of Hashem? So what doesn't make sense about that?
He wasn't allowed to build it.
Right, exactly. Good job, Oren. Wow. David HaMelech wasn't allowed to build the Beit HaMikdash. It was built by his son Shlomo HaMelech. So why is David HaMelech saying, I'm so happy people come and tell me we're going to the Beit HaMikdash? It wasn't built yet, right? So, Amar David lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, שמעתי בני אדם, שהיו אומרים, מתי ימות זקן זה, ויבוא שלמה בנו, ויבנה בית הבכירה, ונעלה לרגל. David HaMelech is saying, I hear people murmuring, when's that old guy gonna move on? In other words, him, so that his son can come along and build the Beit HaMikdash, and then we'll be able to go to the Beit HaMikdash. V'samachti, right? And I was happy when I heard that. Why? Because I'm happy that they want the Beit HaMikdash to be built. Leaving aside the fact that they're ready for me to die because I'm the thing that's holding it up. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem says to David HaMelech, Ki tov yom b'chatzerecha me'alef. So there's a pasuk that says, one day is better. One day in your courtyard is more valuable than 1,000. So Hashem is saying, Tov li yom echad she'ata osek b'Torah. לפניי מאלף עולות שעתיד שלמה בנך להקריב לפני על גבי מזבח. I prefer one day of Torah from you, David HaMelech, than 1,000 sacrifices that will be brought in the Beit HaMikdash. So the first question I want to ask, and like I said, we'll talk about the second drasha for a bit now, before we go back to the first one, which is the main topic. are these people being genuine or not? The ones that David HaMelech is talking about. In other words, when they say, "Oh, when's David HaMelech going to die so we can go to the Beit HaMikdash?" Is that a good thing or a bad thing that they're saying that?
Bad.
Why is it bad?
Because they want him to die.
Okay, good.
Can be read two ways.
Hmm?
Can be read two ways.
Right.
Obviously, people can be misleading with bad words.
Yeah. So the Maharsha in his commentary here, so he says, "V'da delefi drash Talmud shelanu nira lefaresh shelo amru ken derech leitzanut." So he says, according to our version, it doesn't seem that they're saying this, mockingly or to poke fun or anything. V'lo shehayu mevakshim limiteto shel David. It's not that they actually were using this as a way to really wish death upon David HaMelech. אלא שהיו מתאהבים לבניין בית המקדש בעבור העבודה. כמו שאמרו, ונעלה לרגל. Right? Rather, they had pure intentions. They actually had a desire to go to the Beit HaMikdash. They wanted it to be built already. ואמרו, ימות זקן, שכבר באותה שעה דוד זקן ובא בימים, ונתמנה כבר שלמה המלך תחתיו, ויבנה בית המקדש. So, על ידו. So the Maharsha says it could be this is talking about when David HaMelech is already zaken. It means he was on his deathbed already. He was very, very old. So they're just saying, any day now, Shlomo Melech has already has basically been appointed king. Let's just get the Beit HaMikdash. They were so excited to have the Beit HaMikdash built that yes, they say Matay Yamut Zaken Zeh, but really they have pure intentions behind what they're saying. But then the Maharsha continues, Ava b'Yerushalmi, the Perek Bet B'Brachot, Amru, שהיו פריצי הדור עושים כן. והיו הולכים אצל חלונותיו של דוד, ואמרו לו, מתי יבנה בית המקדש? עין שם. So the Maharsha notes this same midrash appears also in the Talmud Yerushalmi, but there's a slight difference. The Yerushalmi records the same idea, but it says Pritzei Hador. It describes the people, not just Bnei Adam Shehu Omrim, but Pritzei Hador. Pritzei Hador is how do you translate Pritzei Hador? Like Pritzei, the riffraff, the people who are troublemakers.
From Pritzei, can also mean like Paris, like rich people, no?
Rich? Ah.
Paris is גם מישהו עשיר.
Okay.
No?
זה בלשון התלמוד?
I don't know. Do you have any idea?
No. I understood it to be, it's a negative connotation, I think. It says they used to go to the windows of David's palace and say to him, when's the Beit HaMikdash going to be built already? They're doing it more like, bedafka. So the Maharsha understands the version in the Yerushalmi, it attributes a more negative bend to the people, whereas our version can be interpreted more positively. Regardless, David HaMelech's reaction of being happy is kind of irrespective of whether the people were being serious or not, or genuine or not. He's happy that people are wishing for the Beit HaMikdash, whether they are doing it for the right reasons or not.
Maybe that's also the reason Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says in the whole Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying like, I want you to enter one day instead of on the Olot.
Right, exactly.
Like it's not a real thing. It's like
thing
with like Mikdash Hashem.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's a good way to understand. Yeah, that makes sense. Notice Hashem is telling him, don't think, or even Hashem is saying, don't think what they're saying is really serious. Don't. Yeah, very good. Okay. And then very quickly, the Ben Yehoyada, he just, right, we have here a midrash of a conversation between David HaMelech and Hashem talking about David HaMelech's death. Right? So there's another famous midrash where Hashem and David are talking about David's death. So the Ben Yehoyada connects the two. יש להקשות, די לומר טוב לי יום שאתה עוסק בתורה, ומה יצורך לומר אחד? So what does it mean one day? Right, one day that you're learning is more important to me than 1,000 offerings. ונראה לי בסייעתא דשמיא דאיתא בגמרא דשבת, ששאל דוד המלך עליו השלום הקדוש ברוך הוא באיזה יום ימות? Okay, so it says in the Gemara in Shabbat, David HaMelech asked Hashem, what day of the week is he going to die? Right, ואמר לו ביום שבת. And Hashem told David HaMelech, you'll die on Shabbat. So, והיה עוסק בתורה ביום שבת, קאלה, דלא פסיק, כדי שלא יוכל מלאך המוות לעבור אצלו. So what did David HaMelech do once Hashem told him that? Every Shabbat, he learned Torah without stop, so that the Malach HaMavet couldn't come take him, because when he's constantly learning Torah, the Malach HaMavet isn't able to approach him. וכאשר הגיע יום שבת שיפטר בו, so when the appointed Shabbat for him that he was supposed to pass away came, והאהבה גריס, he was learning Torah, and so the angel of death couldn't come to him. So the Midrash talks about how, he makes a rustling in the trees, and David HaMelech goes for a second and says, what's that noise? And that's when the Malach HaMavet comes and grabs him, right? Okay. So it appears David HaMelech was learning on Shabbat. And while he was learning on Shabbat, he also had the intention to be saved from the angel of death. Right? If we're talking about Yom Echad B'Shavua, the reference is to Shabbat. Why? She'en lo zug, right? Because Shabbat has no partner. כמו שאמרו רבותינו ז"ל במדרש, אמר שבת לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא, ריבונו של עולם, כל הימים נתת בהם זוג ולי לא נתת בת זוג. Right? That Sunday has a partner, Monday, Tuesday has Wednesday, Thursday is Friday. Well, who do I have, says the Shabbat. And the answer in the Midrash is that you have Bnei Yisrael, right? That's your zug. But Shabbat is Yom Echad. It's the odd man out Shabbat. וזה אמר, טוב לי יום אחד שאתה עוסק בתורה. So you see what the Ben Yehuda says? It's better, our Gemara one says, Tov li yom echad she'ta osek b'Torah, because Shabbat, David was constantly learning Torah at the end of his life, in order to avoid the Malach HaMavet. So, shemeshutav be'esek HaTorah, kavana shana, gam ken chaviv alai, esek HaTorah shelcha me'elef olot. And so the Ben Yehuda, when he connects these two midrashim, it says, even though you're learning Torah for the purpose of keeping the Malach HaMavet away, even so, it's more precious to me than 1,000 korbanot that will be brought on the Mizbeach in the Beit HaMikdash. That's how. So it's like shelo lishma, like it's still something that is valued in the eyes of Hashem. Okay, Ad kan that second part. But let's go back now and remind ourselves of the first teaching, which was Omdot hayu reglenu b'sharat Yerushalayim. So who causes us to be able to withstand the battle of our enemies or the attack of our enemies? The gates of Yerushalayim, because there they learn Torah. So the Yaakov, like I said, is going to take us on a journey. We need to learn some preparatory Gemaras before we look at him. So first let's look at the Gemara in Gittin and Daf Samech Amud Aleph. Okay? It's a Machloket Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Bana'a. Torah Megillah Nitna. Shneemar Az Amarti Hine Bati B'Megillat Sefer Katuv Alai. So Rabbi Yochanan says the Torah, the Torah was given or written section by section. It was throughout the 40 years that Bnei Yisrael wandered in the desert. And if you look at the Torah itself, it's recorded this way, right? That, okay, you have like certain sections are recorded, and then as a result of something that happens, so it says now here's a new set of halachot or mitzvot. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Torah was slowly given throughout the Bnei Yisrael's journey in the desert, through the 40 years. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish omer Torah chatuma nitna, shnamar lakoach et sefer Torah azot. Whereas Rish Lakish says, that's not what happened. Rather, at the end of the 40 years, at the end of Moshe's life, before Bnei Yisrael going into Eretz Yisrael, the Torah was given all in one go as a final sealed work. Because it says, lakoach et sefer Torah azot, or azeh, is the right. So then the Gemara asks, Vidach nami aktiv lakoach. So what does Rabbi Yochanan do with the fact that it says lakoach sefer Torah zeh? Right? Doesn't that seem to imply it was given as a sealed work at the end? Hahu levato didbak. So Rabbi Yochanan says it's true that at the end there was a final Torah. It was all the pieces were connected. So by the time Moshe says lakoach sefer Torah zeh at the end of his life, there was one sefer Torah, but it was given in pieces throughout the 40 years. V'idach nami. Now in the other way, haktiv b'miglat sefer katuv elai. So what does Rish Lakish do with this other pasuk, which seems to imply that the sefer Torah was given in sections? Hahu dechol Torah kula ikrei Megillah. So yes, it refers to the Torah as a Megillah, but that doesn't mean it was given in sections. Just that the sefer Torah is also referred to as a Megillah. Tichtiv vayomer lei ma ta ro'eh va'omer ani ro'eh Megillah afa, and the reference there is to a Sefer Torah. So each side kind of has an explanation for the other side. Inami ked Rabbi Levi, or alternatively, Rish Lakish can say like Rabbi Levi. Dam Rabbi Levi, Shmona parshiyot ne'amru bayom sheukam bo Mishkan. There were 8 sections that were said on the day that the Mishkan was erected, which was just this past. It's actually tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. Oh, Rosh Chodesh Nisan's right now. So it's Aleph Nisan as of about an hour ago. So look at that. Okay, so the day that the Mishkan was built is today. What were the 8 sections? Ve'eluhen, Parshat Kohanim, Parshat Levim, Parshat Tmeim, Parshat Shluach Tmeim, Parshat Achemot, Parshat Shtuyayim, Parshat Nerot, Parshat Paraduma. The point is, these 8 sections are scattered throughout the Chumash, the Torah. Right? They're not written one after the other. They're scattered all over the place. So that teaches that that according to so that like validates the opinion that it was Megillah Nitna. Okay. And then the Gemara in Gittin continues. It says, Ba'amine Abaye Merava. Okay, so Abaye asked Rav, Ma'u lichtov Megillah l'tinok litlamed ba. So what is the halacha? Are you allowed to write a section of the Sefer Torah in order for a child to practice from it or learn from it? So not write a whole Torah, but write like one column, for example. So he says, Tibai leman da'amar Torah Megillah nitna, Tibai leman da'amar Torah chatuma nitna. And he says, it's a question whether it's allowed or it's not allowed according to either Rabbi Yochanan or Reish Lakish. Why? Tibai leman da'amar Torah Megillah nitna. It's a question according to Rabbi Yochanan who said that the Torah was given section by section. Why? Because you could say maybe kevan de Megillah nitna kotvin, because it was originally given in the Midbar section by section, so I should be allowed to write a section for a kid to learn from, because that's how it was originally given. Or do I say no? It's true, it was written section by section, but once it was all signed, sealed, and delivered at the end of the 40 years, so now it's considered one work. So I can't go and break it up now. So there I have the question. Or and according to the Reish Lakish, who says it was given as one sealed work at the end, so do I say do I say since it was given as one work at the end of the 40 years, so therefore I can't write it section by section? Or Dilma, do I say do I say normally I can't break it up, but since we're dealing with a kid and for the purposes of chinuch, so it's okay, I'm allowed to do it. So basically you have, according to either opinion, it's a question whether you can or you can't. This is hilarious. Actually, to me, this was hilarious. So, what's the answer? So, Abba says, Amar le'en kotvin. Abba says, you can't do it. You can't write a section. Uma'atam, why not? Lefi she'en kotvin, because you can't do it. So, the answer he gives, it's like, you can't do it. Why not? Because you can't do it. Okay. So, Rashi says, what does it mean because you can't do it? It means in either line of logic. In other words, it means either, according to the one who says it's written by section, you can't do it because it was sealed eventually. It was like Yidbak. And according to one who says it was given as one work, you can't do it because it was given as one work. But be it as it may, we have this Gemara in Gittin, which basically the question is Torah considered a Megillah? Was it given as Megillot, or was it given as a sealed work at the end of the 40 years? You want to check something?
Just looking inside.
Oh, okay. So, if we look now at the Yun Yaakov in his commentary on that Gemara in Gittin, he says as follows. We can wait if you want to check something.
No.
All right. So, on the back of the source sheet, so I bracketed it off. It says, we're at Torah Megillah Nitna. Okay? Ve'efshar lomar, de plige de plukta de hai tanai. So we can say that the argument here between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish of whether the Torah was given section by section or as one work at the end of the 40 years, the argument is the same argument as a different argument. The plige beperish pasuk Torah tzivalanu Moshe morasha kilat Yaakov. Right, so we all know the pasuk, right? Torah was commanded to us by Moshe, morasha kilat Yaakov. The question is, what does the word morasha mean in that pasuk? What is a morasha? So beperek dal mitot. So the Gemara, I think in Sanhedrin. So it says, I morasha perush Yerusha. So is it kipshuto? It means that it's an inheritance. Right? The Torah is our inheritance. We have a Masorah. We receive the Torah as an inheritance. He lahem o meorasa, or is it morasha like morasa meorasa, which means is the Torah like a young bride, like a betrothed woman? Shedina kenara meorasa vayin sham. So there's a machloket there. Is should we view Torah as a Yerusha or as a morasa? So just as an aside, right? What is that argument about? Like, what's that? It's kind of the side point, but the machloket there that Yun Yaakov is referencing. What do I care whether I think of the Torah as an inheritance or I think of the Torah as a young bride? What difference does it make? So it could be that the idea is: do I view Torah as something that, right? It's a Yerusha, it's an inheritance. It's midor ledor. I'm inheriting something miyimei kedem, and it's kind of worn, right? It's gone through the generations. It's seen things. but it's kind of my reliable Masorah that I have for a long time. Or should I view Torah as a Na'ara Murasa? It's like something that's new and fresh, and it's a different way of thinking about what Torah is supposed to mean to us. And now the Yun Yaakov takes it one step further. He says, V'in ken iyamrinan dina kena'ara murasa. So this is the first step that the Yun Yaakov makes in his chain of arguments. So if I say that the Torah is like a young, like betrothed woman, v'kaim alan b'perek hamad kiddushin daf zayin amud aleph, hamakadesh chatzi isha ina mekudeshet. And we know that when it comes to if a person, there are all these halachot about how you can propose for it to be valid. So if you propose to half a woman, it doesn't work. What does that mean? Afilu amar chetziach bepruta hayom v'chetziach bepruta machar kamibai. Ipaska ve'ena mekudeshet. So let's say I go up to a woman and I say, I want to propose. I'll give you half a pruta today, half a pruta tomorrow. Right? So that doesn't work because I'm splitting up the pruta. You need a minimum of a pruta, and if I split it up between two days, it doesn't work because I've created there's a break between them. Eina mekudeshet, right? She's not mekudeshet. Why not? Because I need to propose everything to her now at once as like a whole package. So lachen svir elei l'Reish Lakish Torah chatuma nitna. Kevan she'atorah dam le'na'ara murasa shenitkadsha liYisrael, lachen tzarich liot tmima bli hefsek. So you see what he does here? The Yun Yaakov says, according to the idea that if the Torah is a morasha, which means it's like a young betrothed bride, she has to be tmima, right? She's a betula, she's a virgin, she's unblemished. So that's like Reish Lakish says the Torah was given all at once, sealed in one go. Ma she'en ken Rabbi Yochanan savar megillah nitna kvar Yerushahi de'esh la hefsek av yarshu zeh achar zeh v'kaim alan. But Rabbi Yochanan, who says the Torah was given section by section, so it's true, it was glued together at the end, but it was given broken apart. So that's more like the morasha. It's an inheritance that it kind of over time it was unveiled. But I don't have the issue of not being able to be mekudesh and mekudesh because it's not a nara morasa. It's a morasha. So here the Yun Yaakov is tying these two totally different ideas together. And then he says, "V'nirli this is kavanat hashas reish perek kiddushin the Torah nikra b'lashon nekeva. V'chtiv Torah Hashem tmima mishivat nafesh." Right? We have the pasuk Torah Hashem tmima mishivat nafesh. The Torah is referred to there in the feminine, mishivat nafesh, tmima. Excuse me. V'kashe lama lo matzinu the Torah nikra b'lashon nekeva ela b'pasuk zeh. So the question is, why is Torah referred to in the negative form in that pasuk? Sorry.
Feminine.
What did I say?
Negative.
Feminine, thank you. That is not good. Yes, feminine. The Torah is referred to feminine in that pasuk. Uledrachenu yuvan, and he says, but according to the idea that we just developed, it actually makes a lot of sense. Why? Kevan de Torah Hashem tmima dafka. Right? The pasuk is saying, what is the feminine word attached to the Torah? It's tmima, unblemished, whole. Right? Dafka muchak shi ke'arusa liYisrael lachen nikret b'Torat nekeva b'lashon nekeva v'kaimelan. Right? Because if I say that it's Torah Hashem Tmima, so it's like the Torah is like a Nara Murasa when she's unblemished. And if I hold it as Nara Murasa, so it's a girl. So that's how the Yun Yaakov finds like a support for his idea. And we can skip the rest of the Yun Yaakov there. So that's kind of the first step in the Yun Yaakov's thing. Right? We haven't connected it back to our Gemara yet, but he's developed this idea of, according to the opinion that the Torah was given Chatuma, according to Reish Lakish, it's all at once, you can't break it up. It's not like Rabbi Yochanan says it was given Megillah. Rather, it's like a Nara Murasa, it has to be whole and unblemished and given all at once. Okay. If we go on to the next Midrash now, Vayikra Rabba, it says as follows, Tani b'shem Rabbi Elazar. Okay, Rabbi Elazar taught, Hasaif ve'asefer nitnu mekarchin min hashamayim. The sword and the book were given interconnected from heaven, that they are interdependent, bound. Thank you. The sword and the book. What does that mean? Amar lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem said to Bnei Yisrael, Im shemartem ma shekatuv b'sefer zeh, if you keep what's written in the book, namely the Torah, harei atem nitzolim min hasayif, you are saved from the sword. V'im lav, but if you don't keep what's written in the book, sof shu oregetchem. In the end, you will be killed by the sword. Right? Ve'echan hu mashman shel dvarim. How do we know this? Shneimar ve'garesh et ha'adam lishmor et derech etz ha'chaim. When Hashem kicked Adam and Chava out of Gan Eden, so he put the kruvim there with the Esha mitlapach, the sword, to guard the path to the tree of life. Thank you. Parag Gimel, yeah. What's the exact pasuk? Is it Gimel?
Getting there.
אחר כך נמצא את זה.
תמשיך.
So, what does it mean לשמור את דרך עץ החיים? So, את דרך זו דרך ארץ, ואחר כך עץ החיים זו תורה. Right? So, this is a radical statement. Right? Why? He's not just saying... In other words, I would maybe understand if he said, you won't survive a saif unless you have sefer. Right? In other words, meaning that saif alone is not enough. You need sefer also. But he's saying more, he's not saying that. He's not saying saif alone is not enough. Right? Kochiv otzim yadi is not good enough. You also need Torah. He's saying, no. If you don't have Torah, saif will fail. Right? You will fail to saif. You need Torah. Saif alone is... Sorry, I confused myself just now. He's saying you need Torah and saif... Okay, and saif is a threat without sefer. Okay? The Midrash continues. Tani b'shem Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Please pick everything up. So we have a similar idea by Rashbi that food and the rod were given bound together. If you keep Torah mitzvot, then you'll have food. But if not, you'll be beaten. טוב הארץ תאכלו, ואם תמענו ומריתם חרב תאכלו. So what does it mean חרב תאכלו? חרובין תאכלו. You'll eat חרובין, like carobs, which is not a delicious food. Right? So you'll only eat good food if you learn Torah. If you don't learn Torah, you won't eat good food. אמר באחת, צריכים ישראל חרובה, עבדון תטובה, אמר בעקיבא, יא מסכנותה לברתה דיעקב, כארכה סומכה ברשע דסוס שחברה, which basically means poverty is good for the daughters of Yaakov, in others, Bnei Israel. Poverty is good for Bnei Israel, like a saddle on a white horse. Basically, the idea is that poverty is a good thing for Bnei Israel because it keeps them in check, right? They don't become Vaishman Yishun Vayivat. It keeps them in their place, humble, recognizing Hashem. Okay. But the point we want to mention, of course, is that first part by Rabbi Elazar, that a saif v'asefer nitnu mekarchim min hashamayim. They're tied together. Now if we look at the Yun Yaakov, in our original Gemara and Makkot, he ties it all together. Okay, so where it's bracketed off there in the last source, about 6 lines up from the bottom. So he says, V'ita b'Gemara sof brachot daf pe gimel amud bet, hasketu shma Yisrael, hayom hazeh niyet ela'am. Right, so at the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, he says to Bnei Israel, listen to me, today you have become a nation. And the Gemara there asks, what does it mean today you've become a nation? Why is Moshe talking at the end of 40 years? They became a nation in Har Sinai. What does it mean today you've become a nation? So the teaching in the Gemara in Brachot there is that, no, it's this nice idea that says, every day that you learn Torah, if Torah is chaviva to you, it's as though you received it that day, right? Like every day you learn Torah with excitement, it's as though you were at Har Sinai, you're receiving it at Har Sinai anew. Yeah, that's a famous idea, right? Okay, so what? Ve'ita b'parshat ki tetzeh, perek chavdal pasuk hey, ki kach ish isha chadasha, lo yetzeh batzava. Right? We know that there's a few categories of people who are exempt from the army in the Torah, right? There's 4. Who are the 4? Do you know, actually? No. Who are the 4 people who are exempt from army service?
אישה ולא לקחה, כרם ולא חיללו זו, נראה לי המונח. בית, מנה בית ו...
לא חנכו.
ואחרון אני לא זוכר אבל.
אישה, בית, כרם ו...
שדה או... אני לא זוכר את האחרון.
Okay.
לא,
יש גם מי שירא ורח הלבב.
Right, that's the 4th one. Yeah.
כן.
Yeah. Right, the 4th one is if he's too scared. And the first 3, we don't remember the exact words, but you were right about the categories. Right? Someone who has a new vineyard, someone who has a new house, and someone who has a new wife. Right? So Shana, this is the idea of Shana Rishona, right? In the first year, what does it say? Right? He should stay home. He doesn't have to go to the army. Right? Naki yeh leveto shana achat v'samach et ishto asher lakach. Right? He should be exempt from going out to work.
מדובר במלחמת רשות, כמובן.
Okay.
מלחמת מצווה זה גם מופיע חתן יוצא מחופתו.
לפי מה?
לא, נכון, אם יש מלחמת מצווה, אז חתן יוצא מחופתו.
נכון, אוקיי.
חתן וכלה יוצאים מחופתם, לא?
בסדר, נלך רק על
כאן ביחידת קרקע.
Okay, so yes, it's a good point. Milchemet Reshut, because Milchemet Mitzvah, he has to go even during his chuppah. Okay. But we have here this idea that a husband who's marrying a new wife, who just got married, he doesn't have to go out to work. So, Lechach nitna hasaif ve'asefer kruchim min hashamayim. So now he's quoting the Gemara, the Midrash Veiker Rabbah, that we know that the sword and the Torah were given bound together. Kevan shehu chaviv alav Torah ki'ilu kibla hayom. Right, so like we just learned that if a person learns Torah with chavivut, it's as though it was given that day. Tzarich liyot naki shana achat min hasaif. So he is therefore exempt for a year from the sword.
I thought he was going to say a whole thing, different thing.
Okay, hold on. Mea milchama. Why? V'chen leolam, and therefore forever. Kevan shebechol yom hu ki'ilu kibla hayom. Since every day that he learns Torah, it's as though he's receiving Torah on that day. So then he's exempt for a year from that day. So it's a continual thing that he's always exempt from the tzava. He's always exempt from the saif. Why? V'zeh kavanat ha'gemara kan. Mi garam she'amdu lemilchama v'yatzlichu t'sharei Yerushalayim. What does it mean, tying now back to Makkot, that why are we able to stay in the gates of Yerushalayim and withstand the enemy's battle? Because Shayu oskim b'Torah, because they're learning Torah. V'chaviv alehem, and it's beloved upon them, kilu kibla hayom. Since they're learning in Yerushalayim, and every day that they learn, it's like they're receiving the Torah that day, right? Therefore, they are exempt, as it were, from going out to tzava. And why? Right? He says this in the continuation, but we learned it already, because the Torah is compared to Na'ara Murasa, right? He's marrying the Torah each day. The Torah is like a Na'ara Murasa. She's unblemished, like what Reish Lakish said. So since he's taking the Na'ara Murasa, Murasha Kilat Yaakov, therefore, he is naki, naki samach ishto asher lakach. He has to be happy with his Torah that he just married. Each day he's marrying her anew. Therefore, he has to be exempt. And since we know Saif and Sefer are tied together, so he's exempt from going out to war. So the Yun Yaakov here is tying all these different Gemarot together to basically make the case where he says even explicitly v'chen leolam, that every day that a person learns Torah, he is exempt through this nice midrashic, poetic language from the saif. He's protected from the saif, and he doesn't have to go out in the tzava in order to defend against the saif, because the saif and the sefer kruchin ze bazeh, and as long as you're learning the sefer, then you are nitzolin min saif. You don't have to be worried about the enemies coming, and that's the idea of Mi garam leraglenu she'amdu b'milchama. How can we stand firm against our enemies coming? Sharei Yerushalayim shayu oskin b'Torah. So, based on this, you can infer what you want to infer about the balance between Torah study and the need to go out and fight to protect Eretz Yisrael.
That's the same. No, but I'm saying, I thought he was going to say that thanks to those people that are learning Torah, so the other one who's fighting are still alive.
They're still allowed to fight.
They're allowed to fight, and they win the battles thanks to the לומדי תורה. וזה מה שחשבתי שהוא הולך להגיד. Because I thought he was talking about it's like the whole nation.
No, I mean, I think Yun Yaakov has some intellectual integrity.
Meaning?
Not to say such a thing.
Okay, elaborate. I mean, he lived before,
I know.
the state of Israel. I don't think the current events were, but just more broadly, yeah. He seems, if we understand it correctly, to be developing a particular approach of, the Torah will protect you. And it says in Vayikra, he's not making it up, right? In other words, אמר להם הקדוש ברוך הוא, אם שמרתם מה שכתוב בספר הזה, הרי הם ניצולים מן הסייף. נקודה. It's pretty straightforward.
כן, פשוט הפך את זה כאילו למשהו אישי, אני אומר. כאילו, אם יהיה פה סתם, אני אומר, אירוע, אז כאילו, רון לימד תורה, אז רק הוא ינצל, וכל מי שלא ימות, לכאורה.
אוקיי, I understand what you're saying.
ואני חושבת שהוא יביא את זה למקום של בזכות לומדי התורה, אז עם ישראל ינצח במלחמות שלו. כי זה שילוב כזה.
Okay, הבנתי. Yeah, right, he doesn't go there. That's a good point. He does it on a personal level. All right.
צריך לסיים את החמץ.
Yeah, we have to finish.
רון
and-
ממש הוא יעשה את זה.
Yeah, right. There's no shir next week, or the week after, or the week after, because of Pesach. So we will continue Bezrat Hashem in another month.
Funny.
Chag Sameach.
Yeah.